Is tennis all mental? You hear that a lot, that tennis is all about what's going on up here. And this is true to some extent. And I made a video discussing the 10 qualities that elite tennis players must possess in order to be competitive at that level. And these things are technique, speed, agility, reflexes, coordination, endurance, discipline, focus, the ability to handle pressure, and the will to win. So the last 3 things on this list are especially important when we're talking about the mental part of the game. So a player must have focus. A player cannot get distracted by things that are happening either on the court or outside the court. Also, the player must be able to handle pressure. We all have seen players choke, and this is basically an inability to handle pressure, and it comes in many various forms. And then most importantly, a player must have the will to win. John McEnroe described the qualities of a champion in the following way. A champion is a player who can figure out a way to win when they're at their worst. This is what players such as Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer are so good at. You can see that when they win Grand Slams, there are always a few matches in the early rounds when they're playing terrible, but they find a way to win. This is the will to win, and it's crucial to be able to be competitive at that super elite level. And maybe the most important mental element of tennis is confidence, and confidence is related indirectly to all these 10 items. And basically what confidence is a player's perceived probability of success, which in turn is based on a successful history. And this can work in various ways. So if a player has been doing well in tournaments, most likely that player is going to continue to do well, but it also works in head-to-head matchups. So if you have lost to someone 20 times in a row, obviously your confidence is going to be very low because your perceived probability of success is going to be low, and that's simply based on an unsuccessful history, and it's vice versa. So if you have beaten someone many times in a row, your confidence is going to be sky high. So when people say tennis is all mental, it is true because players at the elite level are so similar, and many of these characteristics, especially when it comes down to technique and speed. Players all have great technique, players all have great speed, they're exceptional athletes. So it does come down to these little mental parts of the game. Who has more will to win, who is able to handle the pressure better, and who is able to be more focused when it matters most, and most importantly, which player has more confidence. And tennis is very much a skill-based sport where the mental aspect doesn't always matter. And let's take, for example, a player who has deficiencies in technique and speed, which are the 2 most important things a tennis player must possess. So that particular player with deficiencies in those 2 categories could be great mentally. In other words, that player could have great focus, can have a great ability to handle pressure, can also have a very strong will to win. But the deficiencies in technique and speed mean that when they face a player who's superior in those 2 elements, they have a very little chance to win that match. So let me give you an extreme example. We're at a Grand Slam. Well, let's take the best junior out of the draw and have him face Novak Djokovic or Rafael Nadal. The chances that that junior is going to win that match are almost slim to none, for the simple reason that most of the times juniors still have some deficiencies in technique and speed. But let me bring it down to the recreational level. So if you have someone who's a 3.5 NTRP level recreational player who's facing a 4.5 level NTRP player, the chances that the 3.5 will beat the 4.5 are almost slim to none, because most of the times the 3.5 has great deficiencies in technique. And since tennis is a skill-based sport, you cannot make up these deficiencies. If you have problems, for example, with your forehand or your backhand, it doesn't matter if you are really good at all these other elements, and this includes fitness, by the way. You will have very little chance to beat someone who's a whole NTRP level above you. And the reason why I bring up fitness is that I've seen it many times at the rec level where players who are really out of shape, let's say someone who's a 5'0", and has carrying a few extra pounds, plays against a super fit marathon runner who's a 4.0. That super fit player has almost zero chance to beat the 5'0". Why is that? Because tennis is a skill-based sport. Most likely the 4.0 is lacking in the technique department, and the fact that the athleticism is really strong, it's not going to be able to overcome those technical deficiencies, and most likely the 4.0 will lose to the 5.0 because of that. So when we say tennis is all mental, yes, it's absolutely true that tennis is all mental when we're talking about the very elite level where players have such similar qualities that it comes down to these mental aspects that determine who is going to win the match. But when it comes to the recreational level, tennis is all about technique. This is the most important part of tennis. This is what you have to take care of. Don't worry so much about the mental part of tennis until you have your technique perfected. And guys, I know what you're thinking. You're getting ready to type that comment. What about somebody with really bad technique who's able to win a lot of matches? Yes, this is absolutely true. However, in my experience, I find that players that like that will usually stagnate at the 4.5 level. So they will do really well up to a certain level, but then they can't progress anymore because players at the 5.0 level usually have too much power and they will be able to blow players like that off the court. And guys, this is why I place such importance in technique. The only way to progress to the 5.0 level, which is the goal for all my students. Anybody that comes to me, I tell them, I want to get you to the 5.0 level. And the only way you're going to do that if you learn the proper fundamentals of all strokes. I am by no means saying that the mental part of the game is not important, but I've also seen players obsess on it, and it can be very frustrating to try to work on your mental part of the game when that's not really the reason why you're losing. The number one reason why players struggle at the recreational level is technique. Therefore, guys, you have to go out there and grind. This is my favorite word. Anybody that works with me knows that I use the word grind a lot because that's what tennis is all about. We have to go out there and grind. We have to hit balls. This is the only way we're going to perfect our technique. So guys, go out there and grind.